Welcome to the Old Mac Gang podcast, or OMG, a vodcast with a panel of longtime seasoned Mac Apple users who discuss the most relevant apps and services for age-seasoned users. I'm Marty Gensius, an Apple enthusiast and podcaster. I'm a 67-year-old age-seasoned user who's gathered a great group of friends to talk about Apple and its use with seasoned citizens. Today's topic is about shopping on Amazon, and I don't know, you guys on the West Coast might have a few more hours of Amazon shopping days. I think ours closed down, well, it's 9 p.m. here, so maybe we got a couple hours after to pick up on all the Amazon deals. But really, we're talking about just shopping online and the most common kinds of issues that we run into, some guidance and tips for seniors to make it a better experience. But let's find out who's with us tonight.
Hey, I'm Chris. I'm a 78-year-old retiree in Tucson, Arizona. I've been around the Mac since the original 128K Mac. I've worked at Apple. I've worked at University IT, spent time with Apple user groups, and now I'm enjoying all my current Apple toys. I just picked up an Apple Watch Series 11 several days ago, and I'm really enjoying dialing that in. Charlie?
Hi, I'm Charlie Lindahl. Just going to be turning 70 this month, and I've been using the Mac since the original ones came out. And I have a MacBook Pro M1 as my primary machine. I have a Series 10, and I just got a iPhone 16 Pro, which I love.
Bob?
Howdy, Pilgrim. I'm Bob Wood. I'm here in Tucson and happy to be in my mid-70s. And I'm also a officer of the local Tucson Macintosh user group.
So,
Peter?
Bob, because you refer to people as pilgrims, does that indicate your age?
Maybe, but it's really more about that old Western where, kept calling everybody Pilgrim. Don't remember the name of the movie, but of course I don't remember
Peter?
what I had for lunch yesterday.
Okay, well, hi, I'm Peter. I'm a 72-year-old age-seasoned Apple enthusiast, and I'm in Bay Village, Ohio. I like to learn about all things Apple, and I enjoy sharing what I've learned with others, with this old Mac gang, and with our listeners. Marty.
Thanks. So let's start with briefly any news or anything announcements you want to make. Chris, since we even, before we went live, Chris has been in joyful happiness about his new watch. So why don't we give you a little airtime to talk about it?
Well, I've been geeking out on it and, getting the initial stuff set up. I had an interesting little scare last night, and this can be perhaps useful for other users. I read about how to clean the magnetic link band. Somebody told me this is called vegan leather, but at any rate, you're supposed to sort of wipe it off with a damp towel, which is how I always clean everything, by the way. No cleaners, no sprays, no UV, no nothing on my iPhone. And somehow I had flipped the crown, and when I picked up the watch face, all I saw was a giant number 5 covering the entire watch face. So I tried various and sundry things. Nothing was working. So I, on the edge of panic, I dialed into ChatGPT and said, "Help, what do I do?" And they said, "Aha, you have uncovered the zoom problem. Go into your watch app on your iPhone and turn zoom off." And sure enough, that fixed it. So if you ever run into such a thing and your screen gets giant, just go into the watch app on your phone and turn off zoom, and you should be a happy camper. But I'm still dialing in. It's really fun. Between this and my surgery on my cataracts last year, I can actually read things now. Like if in the middle of the night, if my watch were to beep or something, I could see what was going on. I use the sleep setting all the time. But good case in point for score one for Apple for incremental change, because going from the Series 6 to the Series 11, it's 5 years. It's a big jump. You think, well, and a lot of stuff is the same, but a lot of stuff has really matured and improved, and you see that with the look and feel of products, and it takes usage, it takes practice, it takes dialing in, really digging in, and using stuff, and then you can really appreciate all of those hours that the Apple engineers put in, making these products better. So, any questions, guys? I don't know if I've covered enough here.
I think you gave some good suggestions and things to look out for. Anything else from the group? Yeah, Peter.
Well, I got a new iPhone when it came out a few weeks ago, and this was picture week for me. So earlier in the week, I was out tramping through the woods, and today I was tramping through the Toledo Museum of Art. And in both cases, I put my phone in a case. Oh my gosh, couldn't see all of its beauty, but it had one of those crossbody bands that was just around my neck, so I wouldn't lose it. And it made it very handy just to let the phone dangle. And when I was ready, just pick it up, hit that photo button or photo control, whatever they call it on the side. It worked really nicely, and I got a lot of good pictures in nature and in civilization both.
Cool. I have some of those bands with me, and since I'm going to a conference tomorrow, I was thinking of keeping my phone with one of those loops, and I go back and forth on it whether or not, for me, that feels a little too showy. I mean, if I'm out shooting photos, that feels like a great place to have that ability with it. But like walking around a hotel, it maybe saves a pocket and such. But yeah.
It did seem showy when I wasn't taking photos, and I actually put it in my pocket and let the bands dangle out. But I did notice that there are a fair number of the people in this world who have some long thing dangling out of their pocket. So that actually didn't make me feel too weird.
Well, I don't know. I'm trying to limit what I take with me, which is always hard because I carry a lot of tech with me, and I don't know if I'm for the 2 days I'm going to be there whether I need to have the dangly bands or not. But so we're talking about shopping and tips for shopping, and just a few things I'll run off and maybe even share some sites with our listeners before we get into our discussion on it. Use strong passwords or use two-factor authentication, and use that on Amazon and other sites that you use. You can also create pass keys with Apple that add some additional security to it. Keep your payment methods updated but limited. Avoid saving too many credit cards. I went into my Amazon account, opened up the payment options, and I have years of credit cards in there. Many have expired. And I just need to clear that out and keep it down to one or two items or one or two cards. Use wish list. I'll talk about that later on, to kind of things that you don't need right now but you want to get. Be mindful of sponsored listings. They always run to the top, and they're not necessarily the best. So you might want to look at what other things come up in searches when you're looking for it. And how many folks in this group, raise a hand, have a Prime account? Everybody's using Prime, which is good. Faster shopping and shipping, and better support. And that Prime account cost creeps up a little bit every year, but I get my money's worth out of it, so it hasn't quite gotten to the point where I'm saying, no, I want to pay individual shipping on the amount of stuff that I get. Apple devices use Apple Pay on supported sites. It adds extra layers of security with Apple. Consider subscribe and save for regular stuff. We get our coffee once a month through Amazon. And the two of us, we get 144 pods, which means we're drinking a lot of coffee between the two of us per month. But we just kind of make it. And there are a few months that I have to go to the store and pick up a 12-pack just to get us through a couple of days. But subscribe and save is a good money saver for the regular things you're going to get anyways. And you can delay them, you can rush them, you can do other things with it, but it's a cost-effective way. Regularly check your history to see any weird purchases that might come up to do that. And then typical things about security and privacy. Clicking links on suspicious emails, don't do that. Go directly to the retailer's site. And consider using virtual credit cards. It's like the Apple Card. And if you need customer support, go directly to the official website to get customer support on things. So, did a search, came up with some helpful sites. One is, and I had never heard of this, Camel. And it's is a free Amazon price tracker that alerts you to good deals on products that you love. Then some PayPal Honey, or Honey is the site. It searches for coupons at 30,000 sites to help you save money. So it's joinhoney.com is the link for that. And then something from AARP talking about how to spot online shopping scams that are going on. That's always, some good information in that article that helps you identify where there are fraud or fake websites. 10 tips for safer online shopping and a safer online shopping experience from WebRoot and the WebRoot site. So a nice good list of some of the things that we've mentioned. And then the Federal Trade Commission consumer advice. And the first thing, of course, we get at the top is that it's closed due to a lapse in funding. Because as we record this, we're in a government shutdown. But there's some good ideas in this particular link. So those are things to look at, and things that you might find enjoyable articles. And the resources will be in the show notes. So I'm going to start with the panel discussions and ask you, and I think we go to Chris first, what's your top tip for seniors who feel hesitant or overwhelmed about shopping online?
Well, Marty, let me start off with a couple of real quick comments. For the Prime benefits, check them out, because you may, they have things like Prime Video and Prime Music, which I don't use because I subscribe to Apple Music. But just in case you don't, you might consider that benefit and make sure you take advantage of it. They also have Echo deliveries on Prime. If you have a couple of things coming, or they say, well, you can do the Echo delivery on Monday instead of Friday. Maybe you're not even going to be home on Friday or whatever. And so, and I think there's another setting somebody told me that if you don't want people delivering at night, some people don't in various neighborhoods, that you can specify that too. And real quick, there's been a phishing email apparently going around that says, one of our Apple sellers wasn't up to snuff. Please get in touch and we'll send you something like a refund. Well, okay, first of all, they haven't specified the seller. They haven't specified the product. So absolutely smells like phishing. And, if anything, call Amazon if you have any doubts about it. But be careful about emails like that, because they are phishing. So, okay, back to the topic here. Like I said, I would start with Amazon, create a passkey that makes it instant log on if you are old enough to remember the days of auto log on before we had security. It's just like that. It's just wham bam, you're there. And again, Marty already mentioned Prime. An alternative to Amazon, by the way, for some parts of the country may be appropriate, is Walmart Online. And there's some parts of the country that are maybe getting better service, and their prices are often similar. Uh, and particularly if you're going to be doing grocery deliveries from like a Walmart neighborhood market or a superstore, and you're having stuff delivered to your home, then Walmart Online can be a benefit. And I'm sure you may already know about that. Yeah, and becoming familiar with the website, there's an area I frequently go to called returns and orders. It's right up at the top right. And, for reorders, it's really handy. I can go back and see what that particular product was that I bought 3 months ago, 3 years ago, and, click on it and buy it again. Also consider where you want to stay local. For instance, we have a really good pharmacy department in our local Walmart neighborhood market. I've been there for vaccinations. They know me. They're used to my sense of humor. It's great, and I much prefer doing that locally. And they do have the best prices in town that I've found for pharmaceuticals. Um, Finally, talk to friends, word of mouth. Um, Amazon has a family plan also for Prime benefits. That's a recent change. My wife used to somehow be differently on my Prime account, and now she's an Amazon family member and still using the Prime account. Whatever it was, I had to make a change. And finally, Amazon owns or purchased Whole Foods. That may or may not be a benefit for you, and it's also, I think, a pickup spot for deliveries. Um, Yeah, oh, and then the final thing, are you in an area that is okay to get deliveries at home? Some people aren't, and there are lockers available. And like I mentioned, it's somewhere like Whole Foods or a mailbox, etc., or something like that. So I
Yeah,
think
there's
that's
also
something to,
some things with lockers where, oh, we can get it to you in 3 days, but we can get it to the locker in a day. And,
yeah.
sometimes that's helpful if you need something. I think I cut Peter off. Did you have something? Nope.
No.
Okay. Charlie, you're up next.
I'm also an Amazon person. I like them a lot. I definitely am glad that they have the free delivery thing, and I've definitely made up for that. And I've had very little trouble with them. I also have Whole Foods locally, and yes, they do get discounts, a fair amount of discounts often at Whole Foods. Um, they also have a locker. They have a locker at Whole Foods and also at Best Buy, by the way,
Hmm.
um,
Mm.
which is kind of interesting. Um, so let's see, what else do I have here? Oh, I recommend using PayPal. I'm a big PayPal fan, and using that as the main mechanism for buying things means I can track it pretty nicely. And the last thing, oh, and I definitely recommend looking at the reviews for the various products. Last thing I'll mention, which is an advanced type of thing, but I've done this, is set up an email alias for yourself for everything that you have in Amazon, and that way, when you get emails and so forth, you can key on the to address, and you can keep track of all that. And also, you can go to PayPal to check all your purchases in addition through the Amazon site.
That's a cool idea. I don't use aliases enough. Or additional emails for sorting enough. So I like that idea and thinking about it in terms of realizing that when things come to that email, they're either something that's important or something that could be nefarious, versus your home email or your regular account. Bob?
I agree that Amazon is a good place to start. They're easy to deal with. They have great return policies. I would, like Chris, I would ask you to beware of scam emails pretending to be Amazon or some other uh, mail order house. I think we're probably talking about the same one. One of our friends got one recently. And one of the things I always try to do is click and hold on the sender's email. It might say Amazon. And if you click on it, it says Joe at scamsrus.com. So you can see what the sender's real email address is and then know whether that's something that you want to pursue or not. The email address uh, can be faked, but oftentimes I've seen these real email addresses that I would never reply to. So keep an eye out for that.
Peter?
Yeah, my top tip would be to think about how you're paying for things. I remember the first time I started, long before there was an internet, purchasing things by catalog from LL Bean, from different clothing places because I don't like going shopping for clothing. I worried that I wouldn't like it or it wouldn't fit, and I'd get a hassle. And somebody in my life, I don't really recall who it was, said, "You should get a credit card because when you get a credit card and pay with a credit card, there are protections where if the merchant doesn't want to give you the money back, the credit card company will, and they will deal with the person who sold it to you." So I would say my first advice would be to get a credit card and use it as an intermediary between you and who you're purchasing from. And I know that things have changed since that advice sort of kicked in that there are places, like insurance companies and things like that, that are going to want to dip into your bank account and give you a discount and give you all kinds of advantages for doing that. In those cases, if you're nervous about it, I would set up a separate bank account and set up a scheme that automatically funds it with money so that you can feel content that they can't pull money out beyond what you've agreed to. And that would provide a feeling of safety.
Yeah, we just had this discussion last night on another show that I was on, and I was surprised how many people did this. So when I travel, I'm going on a trip. I have a debit card that I will take with me. That is linked to an account that is separate from our general banking and our general credit card or banking ATM card, debit card, if you want to call it that. So I know if I use that card and that number gets nefariously taken, that there's a limited amount of funds they're going to be able to pull from that because it's not attached to where my paycheck goes and where other things go. It's just an account that I feed money when I'm going traveling. Now I have that card. I also have my Apple card, and I feel pretty protected under with using both of those. My suggestion, I took the question literally. What's your top tip for seniors who feel hesitant or overwhelmed about shopping online? I'd suggest that you find someone who's more skilled with online shopping and have them go with you online to do the shopping, to explain things, to say, this looks like a good review, but let's look at all the other reviews. Maybe let's go down and look at some of the bad reviews and see what they're saying. And then teach them how to make better decisions and how to actually move through that pipeline of online shopping. And how much fun is that? You're spending another person's money. It's not yours. You're getting all the joy of looking for cool stuff and buying it. You don't get it. You also don't get the bill. But you're also teaching someone how to effectively manage online shopping. So my suggestion was more direct. Find a mentor, find someone who does that well, and ask them to sit down with you and show you that. Second question, how do you evaluate the trustworthiness of a seller or a product on Amazon or any other site?
Yeah, first of all, just a quick thought on the reviews. I read years ago that when you're looking at reviews that are 1 through 5 stars, throw out the 5 stars, throw out the 1 stars, look at the 2, 3, and 4s, because those are the ones that may give you a clue. Like, gee, their service was great, but it was really slow, or whatever it happens to be. The 5 stars are often exaggerated, or some are even programmed, and even the 1 stars. So, just a good thought on that. Yeah, back to the topic. Not all Amazon sellers are the same in quality, and they may not be like Amazon. I think we all had that experience several years ago. One of the things that I found has changed in recent years is the reviews have really brought some of these third-party sellers in line. For example, I actually did have a complaint about a product several years ago, and the third-party seller sent me an email and said, "We'll be very happy to send you another one for free. You can throw away or keep the first one, but please don't leave a negative review." So from that was an eye-opener. So that, we have the power of the pen, so to speak. I think if I had anything else I was going to add on that. Yeah, I think that's all I have on that one. Charlie?
I tend to pay attention to the reviews, and I also often visit the website of the vendor before buying. And I got the same thing that Chris did. Don't send a negative review. But in general, between the reviews and looking at the website or trying to find the website, that tends to be enough for me.
Bob?
I prefer to buy from Amazon using Amazon Prime and even ship from Amazon. Sometimes you buy from Amazon, sometimes you buy from a third party, and sometimes with a third party, Amazon shipping it, and sometimes they're shipping it. So even if it's a couple bucks more, I would buy from Amazon itself because returns are easy. They try to please you. And I have had, like Charlie and Chris, I have had written a less than stellar review and was told, yeah, we'll be happy to replace that for you. Please change your review. And, no, I'm not going to do that. Sometimes I'll read the 1-star reviews and look through them, and most of them you can go, oh, well, this is somebody who's got a bone to pick, or it's not somebody who you want to believe. But once in a while, there's something good in the 1-star reviews. But like Chris, I would say that the reviews that are most beneficial are the 2, 3, and 4 stars. And to make that even more worthwhile, it's important for us as purchasers to leave those reviews. This was a good thing. I really liked it. The price was good. But if I could have had it in blue instead of red, I would have liked it better. And that's why I downed it from a 5 to a 4.
All right.
Peter.
Yeah, my number one way of evaluating sellers and products is, number one, by a nautical mile, is personal recommendations from trusted sources with experience. Someone I know who's kind of like me, who's had the product for a while and has some history and can tell me about it. Or from some professional outfit, some research, detailed review from a place with a reputation, Consumer Reports or Wirecutter or some columnist or a podcaster. The more consequential, and by consequential I mean the more expensive a product that I purchase, the greater my scrutiny. If something costs $10, I'm not going to sweat it and research it or whatever. I'm going to go with my gut. If I'm buying something from an oddball seller, because sometimes I look for peculiar things like a particular old book or old CD or something like that, I look at their track record and things like that. I mean, that's one. I'm not big at looking at online reviews and stuff like that, except to evaluate sellers of oddball items. Marty.
Yeah, I generally do it by reviews, and I think later on I'll share an experience I had leaving a review, which was interesting. But I think Bob has laid it out pretty well. If you're dealing with Amazon, you have Amazon and their Amazon products in their warehouse. Then you have Amazon who has the products that a seller has made and or is selling, and they ship for the seller. And then there are some that ship directly from the third party seller. I have a tendency to avoid eBay. Not because I've had bad experiences with it. I've had very little experience with it, but it seems from the folks that I hear from, they either have really good or really bad experiences with it. So again, because it's an open marketplace for anybody to be able to sell until they get so many bad reviews that eBay pulls them or whatever. I just don't want to get into that mess. So like Bob, I would probably start with an Amazon product or something that Amazon sells and is warehoused by Amazon because of the way they're able to do exchanges and how easy that is in the process with it. I stay away from things like Alibaba and some of these other, you can get things 40% off here stores, just because I just don't feel a lot of confidence in that. I think Lee in the chat room even said I got stuck with a knockoff set of Bose headphones one time, and he shopped online and then got not what he expected out of the seller. So I avoid kind of secondary markets as much as I can in those types of stores. Third question. Have you had any memorable experiences, good or bad, with online returns or customer support?
Well, short of that one review I mentioned earlier, I very rarely have returns. My wife does more shopping online. And, if she thinks there's any possibility that of a clothing missize or whatever, she will buy from somebody like Old Navy or Kohl's or even Home Depot on that side of the fence, because you can return to their local store, which makes the return a lot easier. I mean, it's just, I'm thinking of a good expression here, not getting one, but it's just there. We're on Amazon. I don't know. What do you think, guys? 2 or 3 times a week, it seems.
Yeah.
I do try to gang stuff up, but at the same time, when I combine shipments, often they'll be delivered separately anyway. So I don't do that as much anymore. But we're blessed because we have a distribution center about 10-minute drive north of here. So we even can get some things same day, which is nice, but I don't ask for it unless I really need it the same day. Again, trying to save a little bit on all the delivery trucks and people.
Charlie.
I've had very good experience with the returns. The other thing that's kind of nice, a little tip, is that if you go to Amazon to the order itself, they will tell you if you decide you need to return it, you can get the online label directly on the website and then print it out and then put it on and you're done. The other thing is that you can get notification of when it's out for delivery, and they will also take a picture of the delivery, so I'll know which table it's on or whatever, if it's in the back or not. And I found that to be very useful.
Yeah, with returns on Amazon, whenever I select to return something, the last thing I selected to return was some printing labels that I was getting for my son and was going to take them to a print shop. And the printing shop said, no, we need LaserJet, not inkjet. So I hadn't opened the packet, so I sent it back to Amazon, and Amazon said, they ask you, why are you sending it back? I never get them to say, oh no, we won't take it for that reason. They want to know if the package is open and things like that. But they never say they won't take it. And, but they give you a bunch of options. Like I can take it to my UPS store, and if I bring the QR code with me, they'll just scan the QR code. They'll box it and ship it and all that. But I can also take it to my UPS store and ask them to box it at my cost. So be very careful which one you select on the list. Kohl's is another place that takes Amazon returns back in customer service. At least my local Kohl's does that. So you kind of evaluate the best places and the best choices that you can get. And if you're paying for Prime, let them pay for the shipping and the boxing and the return with it. So, Bob.
I've generally had good experiences with the few returns I've had to do. What I would encourage people to do is find out where the return points are that are near you. I have one I live outside of the city, and I have a return point that's maybe 10 miles away or so. And that's one of the return points where you need to put it in a box and print out the label and put the label in the box, and they're happy to take it. But about 5 miles further on is a UPS store. And basically, you go in there with the QR code either printed out or on your phone, hand them the product, they scan the code, and they say goodbye. And they take care of sending it back to Amazon for you with all the other returns coming in that day. So uh, that's what I do. So find out where the drop off places are near you and what their services are.
Peter.
Um, this is memorable experiences. I lost track where we're at.
Yeah, memorable experiences, good or bad. With
Okay,
online
I'm
returns.
sorry. I had a age season moment there. I've generally had very good experience, and I've done every which kind of buying and selling online. Uh, I've done eBay, I've done Craigslist, I've done Facebook Market, and I've done all the major commercial places. I find that when I'm doing something on eBay and it's more than $100, I make sure it's got a price guarantee or escrow or some system like that. If I'm doing something on Craigslist or Facebook Market, I make sure the transaction is going to happen in person, and we have an exchange place at the police station near my house, and or it might be a police station near their house, and that works out well. My two memorable experiences was what have led me to those precautions. A long time ago, I think it was an entirely email day. I don't think the web was there yet. I bought something from someone in Toronto, and the moment I bought it, I got a flood of emails saying, did you buy that thing from this guy? I have a hassle with him. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police are on his case. And in that case, I was paying with PayPal, which fortunately I had not set up to dip into my bank account. I was paying PayPal with a credit card. And so 10 minutes after the transaction, I called my credit card company and said, don't do this. And I got a couple of nasty emails from PayPal saying, we were very nice and let you set this account up this way. We may close your account if you don't pay us for this, because we've paid this guy and we can't get the money back from him. And I said, well, I'm sorry. That's why I set it up with a credit card. If you want to cancel my account, that's going to be what it is. And I still have that account, and it's paid for with a credit card. So I guess their threat was not that serious. And once upon a time, I sold a calculator to a guy in Germany who just never. I mean, I was nice. I wanted him to examine it. And then he was going to send me the money, and months went by, and Then I got a great idea. My cousin lives about 20 kilometers from him, and I just sent him an email finally after he was not responsive saying, look, turns out I could have sold this to my cousin, and since you haven't paid me, he's just coming over to get the calculator and he'll pay me. So, that's what's going to happen. And, you know, I got an email saying the check's in the mail, and it was, in fact, did show up. So
Oh,
that
wow. I had I think a good experience, and it goes to some of the things that folks had said. I was about to do a workshop presentation with a bunch of students, and I wanted to do a live stream with multiple cameras and being able to do switching camera to camera, sort of like what we do with Ecamm. But I didn't have that capability at that time. So I bought what was a mixer, essentially, that would allow me to shift from camera to camera. And I went online and I saw it, and the one that everybody uses, is about $200 more than the one that I was going to purchase. And I said, well, it looks good. I mean, it looks like it's the same. And I went ahead and purchased the cheaper product and got it and could not get it to work. And contacted the person through Amazon. This was a individual seller, and said, I can't get this to work. The event happened and we wound up doing something different. And I said, not only could not get this thing to work, I couldn't use it at the event, so I have no use for it now. And the guy was like, and so I think I wrote a review that this didn't work out. And the guy was like, could you please change that review? Let me try and help you learn how to use it and make it right. And I was like, no, I've lost faith in this product, and I don't have a purpose for the product now. And I'm skilled enough to know how to make things work. And it just was not working with the box that you sent me. And after a while, he said, okay, if you will send it back, which I did. I think it might have been at my own expense because I don't think it was through Amazon. He said, I will send you a refund. And I said, if you do that, and when I get the refund, I will add to my review, which you can do, an addendum to say, although there was a problem, the product didn't work for me. I can't recommend the product. The owner of the company dealt with me and did the return and did the money, return the money. So I'm appreciative of that. So it's sort of a two-way street with that. I wish the product would have worked, but I went with the less expensive route. I'm not sure I would have been able to make it work with a more expensive route. That's sort of my good and bad story for purchasing things online. I did try to buy a back seat of a Wrigley Field Cubs chair, which I was going to hang on my wall, and paid somebody $65 for it and never got it. And it turned out to be a scam, and yeah. But I really wanted that old Wrigley, because they were replacing seats, and I really wanted that old wooden one that I used to sit in as a kid. Such is life. You live and learn. So let's do a wrap. Is there any final comments people want to make before we close out? Yeah, Chris.
We've touched on a couple of times this concept where some creditors now would like to tap directly into your bank account. They call it various different names, but you end up sending all your bank credentials for, say, your checking account to this vendor. Now, it happened for us recently, and it was a new trash truck for our neighborhood, a new trash collector. And, they're a recognized name, but it gave me an opportunity to have a conversation with my wife and say, I'm getting a little wary. I don't mind when it's a utility, obviously, because they're reputable and they're going to be good on stuff. But all of a sudden, all sorts of people are wanting to tap into a bank account. And I'm not sure what really happens if something like this goes bad, but it happens to be a credit union. And so I know they don't, I had some problems with a debit card and, it got hacked. So I just finally got rid of the debit card. So in any event, the alternative was to pay the service fee of $250 a month on or every 3 months on a $50 charge or something. And, my wife came up with the idea, maybe in this case, it's worth it to pay the service charge. And then you don't have to let them tap the bank. So, yeah, Peter, any thoughts?
Well, I have a separate bank account that I created at a different bank from my normal bank, and I did it for money when I sold things online because I didn't want somebody, because sometimes those are sent in directly from different ways. And I would set up an account for that for outgoing money just the same way Marty does. And I would fund it. It's easy enough with most banks now to set up ways to, put your mortgage payment into an account, a certain time a month or all kinds of things like that, transfer from savings into checking or whatever you do. But I would have an account that's minimally funded or an account that the account that I use for incoming money, I sweep every Friday. Whatever's in there comes out and goes to a different bank.
Yeah.
It's a good idea.
Any other comments before we close out? All right. Well, we will put a lot of these tips and notes in the show notes. So folks who want to review them, you'll find them in the podcast show notes, and you'll also find them in the video show notes. This is interesting. I looked over. Lee is saying, be careful. Returns are not always paid by the seller. The cost of shipping at your cost can be more than the value of the item. Read the fine print. I had this happen with an Amazon chair purchase. Well, that's interesting. So a recommendation from Lee to make sure that who pays for the returns if you choose to return it and what that cost is going to be like. So we'll have some show notes for you. You can also email us if you have some ideas at the podtalknetwork@gmail.com. You can visit our website, thepodtalk.net, to find out more about the show and other shows we're doing. I just started one last week called Fade to Chat, movies of the 30s, 40s, and 50s, and some 60s, early 60s. But the golden age of Hollywood when they were in the studio system. And we did Arsenic and Old Lace as our first episode, and we just put out a second episode on Some Like It Hot. Our next episode is going to be North by Northwest with Hitchcock. So you can look for that as Fade to Chat as part of the work with the podtalk.net. Our next live episode, will be Wednesday, October 15th at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on YouTube. You can find our YouTube channel at youtube.com/@OldMacGang. You can always catch a replay if you missed the live show. Share our show with your friends, like Lee. So, somebody shared it with Lee and he joined us tonight, and that's great. And we like more people in the live if they can make it, but we just like more people as folks who are going to subscribe to us and listen to our shows as regularly as they can. Our music bed is from Philip Gross Marrakesh, courtesy of the Free Music Archive, part of the Creative Commons. Thanks to the group, Chris, Bob, Peter, Charlie, I guess, and myself. And thanks for you for being part of the Old Mac Gang.